All right, great. Well, thanks everyone. Really happy you all could join us today to talk a little bit about ADU model plans, the model plan design competition that we here at Planning and Development Services are working on with AARP and other community partners such as AIA on doing this. So just to give you a little bit of background on this, back in June 28th, 2023, the City of Tucson Planning and Development Services was awarded a $10,000 grant, or actually $12,000 from AARP to host an ADU design competition that'll help to build a model plan library for the community to utilize in order to build ADUs or casitas, and when I say ADUs, accessory dwelling units. This was part of the AARP Community Challenge grant, which provides small grants to fund quick action projects that can help communities to become more livable for people of all ages. The one portion that actually we were a part of was really related to a demonstration grant. And the goal here really was to increase public understanding of housing options, of this housing option, and encourage the creation of ADU supported policies. Just to kind of introduce a couple people here, we have some staff that are joining us. I am Dan Bursick. I am the section manager for code development for the City of Tucson Planning and Development Services. We have Jessica Janicek, who is who has been working on this project as well. She is actually an intern, but doing work far beyond what an intern normally does. We have Ina Roquillo. She is our PIO. We have Lauren Shamus. She is a lead planner for Planning and Development Services. We have Corin Manning, who is our deputy director, or one of our two deputy directors for Planning and Development Services. And there may be some other people, and if I've missed you, I apologize. We do have quite a few people here who have joined us. So thank you very much. We appreciate it, and I'm going to get started on this. On the agenda today, we plan on kind of breaking it down into three portions. And the goals here really is to talk a bit about ADUs, casitas, a little bit of background, but also kind of the current regulations and kind of how that's gone over the last few years. We've seen a significant amount of interest in this, and we're working really to kind of lower some of those barriers, and we're going to talk a bit about that. Talk about the model plan competition, the overview kind of casita categories, and then some design guidelines related to that. And then talk about kind of the submission portion, how you can do that, how much time you have to do that, things of that sort. So for each of these sections, the plan is to have kind of a pause in between them and to answer any questions that you may have related to those. So either the regulations, the competition, or how to submit. Additionally, I did want to point out that we have a question and answer kind of portion set up for the Zoom. And if you have any questions as they kind of pop up, feel free to toss those in there. We'll either try to answer them as we go, or sit there or just come back to them when we get to that portion at the end of each section, and try to answer those to the best that we can. So I get started on a little bit of the background on ADUs. What is an accessory dwelling unit or a casita? Essentially, it is an independent housing unit with its own kitchen, bathroom, living, and sleeping space. The key there really is the having the full kitchen versus what we call like a sleeping quarters or kind of a guest house, which wouldn't have a full kitchen. These units are typically under 1,000 square feet. And you'll see in our ordinance when I go over that in a second, that's really the cap on how large we allow for accessory dwelling units, and they're accessory to a primary residence. So usually there's a house, a larger house in front, and then there's the smaller accessory dwelling unit that is either in back, or it could be attached or above a garage or something of that sort. And speaking of the next one, they can be detached, attached, interior to primary residence. Or you could potentially do a conversion of an existing portion of your house for that. We've actually seen someone come in and try to convert a gazebo into an accessory dwelling unit. So there are lots of things that people have used to convert into accessory dwelling units. I think primarily for this competition, we'll be really looking at the detached option, just because of the universability of that versus you know, kind of one-off conversions, but they can be many things for that. So some of the benefits just related to this, so they help to provide supplemental income to homeowners, landowners. They help to support local economic stability for that. If you are renting out a unit, it can help to kind of stabilize other costs and your costs as far as a homeowner goes. They support climate resilience and sustainable infill development as we look for options and ways to increase density to try to support transit. This is one of the kind of gentler ways to do so without having a really large impact on the surrounding areas. And they help to retain neighborhood character, having a kind of minimal effect on the areas around. They also help to increase the supply of affordable housing. This is a kind of not the capital A subsidized affordable housing, but just in general, kind of more affordable options. A lot of times the smaller units rent for less. A lot of times they end up being in neighborhoods that normally wouldn't have necessarily affordable options, or if most of the options are, you know, larger homes, this could help with that. But it also helps with aging in place and providing options for helping with family members who may need assistance as they grow older. I know in my personal situation, we are currently looking at building an accessory dwelling unit for my mother-in-law. She is 65, slowly kind of moving towards the time that she's going to be moving in with us in the future. So again, supporting aging in place and multi-generational households. And they allow for kind of diverse and flexible housing options within the neighborhoods and promote mixed income communities. So related to the accessory dwelling units, so back in December 2021, Mayor and Council adopted changes to our zoning code, our Unified Development Code, to allow for casitas or ADUs in Tucson. What it does is it allows for one casita on any residential lot within the city, and with one or two existing homes. So it could be in a residential zone, but it could also potentially be in a commercial zone if there is a residential home on there. So it's by the use, not necessarily by the zone. There are height and size limits that depend on the lot size and whatever the existing home is. And all other dimensional standards do apply, things like lot coverage and setbacks. And those are found, the kind of dimensional standards and measurements can be found in Article 6 of the Unified Development Code. I do want to mention also that we are recording this and we will be posting this presentation. So if you need to come back and refer to it at a later date, we'll have all of that posted up on our website for you so you can access that. And then I'm going to go into a little more detail kind of on what that means. So we have, and actually Lawrence here who helped to create this, we have this kind of ADU worksheet that kind of visually depicts what some of our requirements are. And I'm just going to kind of briefly go over this as far as ADU size guidelines for that, as well as some of the kind of height and restrictions that we have there. So it's really based off of lot area, what you can build. So pretty much any site, as long as you can fit it, can build a 650 square foot accessory dwelling unit. So that's the kind of bottom tier. You can, on lots that are larger than 6,500 square feet, you can build up to 1,000 feet at 10% of the lot size. So an example of this would be kind of right here on the screen is this 8,500 square foot lot. That 8,500 square foot lot could build an 850 square foot casita. This one over here, as an example as well, is a 12,500 square foot lot, so a little over a quarter acre. But that one would be limited to that 1,000 square foot, which is that upper limit that you can have for them. So really, they can be between 650 square feet and 1,000 square feet for that. The most universal size probably would be something like 650 square feet because it could be on any lot. But that is oops, didn't mean to do it. But that is the regulation related to that. As far as just height guidelines, we do allow for some that are greater than 12 feet, but there is, for most lots in Tucson, if you have a single story primary residence, you're limited to 12 feet for the height of your accessory dwelling unit. We do allow for additional height. This is kind of related to some concerns about context when we had passed this. So if you have a 2-story home, you can actually build up to the height of that existing primary residence. In a large portion of the city, there are only 1-story homes. So again, if we're talking about universality of these structures, 12 feet is the one that would really apply to most situations within the city of Tucson. Some other regulations related to this. First one is parking. Accessory dwelling units do require 1 parking space per unit. However, there are waivers for certain things. So you can either meet that requirement with parking on street. So if there's on-street parking available, you can utilize that on-street parking for your 1 parking space. But additionally, if you're within a 1/4 mile of transit or a bike boulevard, or I think it's actually an enhanced bike facility, so something like Mountain would also apply for that. You can waive that parking requirement for that. So in most situations, you can either satisfy it through on-street parking or you wouldn't have to provide it. But there are some situations to where you would be required that 1 space. And then another one that's kind of outside of what we normally have for our normal dimensional standards is a cool roof requirement. So newly constructed accessory dwelling units do require a cool roof. There are a lot of ways to address this. Some are as simple as just having a white roof, but there are a lot of also products on the market these days that do address this for that. And if you look at our ADU worksheet, there's a link to, I think it's the Cool Roof Institute that has a long list of different products that can apply and can meet that requirement. And then the dimensional standards, just normal dimensional standards that we have for all development. And those are things like our building setbacks and lot coverages. So you have to meet the lot coverage of whatever that zone is. Generally, it's I believe it's 70%. And then setbacks, which are 6 feet. It changes depending on the zone, but are generally 6 feet for those structures that are going to be, that are going to be 1 story tall or 12 feet. Okay. Just kind of an example of how that works out and how an ADU can be sited on a lot. This is just showing the kind of primary residence here. This is a lot that's 8,075 square feet. This main building is about 1,500 square feet. And then this is an 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit, showing you kind of the setbacks that it's meeting here for that. And then kind of off the alley, and then the 1 parking space that they have here for that. I believe this is, let's see, it's 9 feet as far as the setback goes. That is because it's 2/3 the building height. So it's 12 foot setback, 2/3 the building height, so 9 feet on this one. So we've, it's been in place, the ADU ordinance for about 1.5 years now. We did a review at 1 year, and we've been looking for ways to kind of further kind of some of those barriers that we're seeing, especially to cost. I mean, this is one of the main things we're trying to do with this, is really provide a new option, but also provide something that's more affordable than a lot of the housing options that are currently out there. One of the things that came up related to that that was really causing a lot of increase in cost was a separate utility requirement. So this potentially could, increase the cost $20,000 on a lot of projects. We are seeing people come in and really struggle with that, especially when they had, a family member or someone living in the backyard. It was for a family member. So we went through and created a policy basically to allow for, basically say that separate utility requirements do not apply to accessory structures, including the casitas, and that these utilities could be shared with the primary structure on the property. Another thing that we looked at, people were coming in, and a lot of this is really just based off of kind of cases when people would come in to try to build their casitas and permit them, is that they were having issues with some of our sustainability requirements, especially on existing structures that they were trying to convert. So things like guest houses, garages, sheds. We were requiring gray water, gray water stub outs on existing facilities, which are very, very, very challenging to do, as well as certain solar readiness requirements that, again, on the existing structure just didn't make a lot of sense. So we went through and kind of clarified that for existing structures and conversions, that those wouldn't be required. And then this now, when we went back to mayor and council and talked to them, they said, move forward with creating a kind of pre-approved model plan library. And we're really hoping that this will help to really promote this housing type, but make it easier and really help to lower the cost and the barriers that are still there for this. Just related to that, so this is the grant that we had applied for. We were awarded $10,000 to give out to these different projects that come through. And we've really been working with AARP throughout the ADU changes, but also are continued to do so through this. And we really, really do appreciate that relationship that we have. We actually have with us today, Hal Bergsma from AARP, who's actually going to talk a little bit about the AARP Community Challenge Grant and really some of the initiatives that they're doing to help with housing affordability, but also accessibility within the community. So I'm going to toss it over to you, Hal.
Okay, Dan, thanks. So I'm going to give Dan a little break from talking for a few minutes. And I am a volunteer for AARP. I'm a retired planner. I spent most of my career in the Portland, Oregon area. And of course, they built a lot of ADUs in that area. So I'm somewhat familiar with what's been happening, at least in that part of the country. So why is AARP involved in this kind of stuff? So most people associate AARP with things like product discounts and endorsements of insurance products, as well as their magazine and a bulletin, which they publish monthly. But the main function of AARP, going back to when it was started by Ethel Percy Andrus in 1947, initially to support retired teachers in California, is to advocate for older adults in the United States. The money received from product endorsements and membership dues and all that stuff pays for that advocacy work, which includes protecting Social Security and Medicare benefits, preventing fraud, supporting caregivers, and lowering the cost of prescription drugs. AARP's advocacy work broadened significantly a little over 10 years ago when the World Health Organization assigned responsibility for promoting age-friendly, livable communities in the United States to AARP. Since then, AARP has recognized a number of such communities and states. I think it's over 700 right now, including 3 in Arizona, including Tucson. Each government in the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities must adopt an action plan addressing 8 domains of livability, which Tucson completed in 2019. The domains include 5 related to the social environment and 3 related to the built environment, one of which is housing. Given the need for affordable housing throughout the nation, including Tucson, AARP has for some time focused on ways to reduce housing costs for older adults, and particularly by promoting the construction of accessory dwelling units. So working with consultants and other organizations, including the American Planning Association, AARP has published several documents relating to ADUs, and Dan referred to some of those earlier, or of course, as we refer to them here as casitas. I know some of these documents were referred to by Tucson staff, and I think Dan already confirmed that, when they drafted proposed amendments to the UDC considered by mayor and council before they adopted ADU regulations in 2021. And that was with the support of AARP's Arizona State Office. One program AERP has operated for several years, and Dan's referred to that, is awarding competitive challenge grants to local governments and nonprofits to support short-term projects that help improve the livability of communities. These grants are usually relatively modest in scale, averaging around $10,000, and must be completed by the end of the year they're awarded. This year, AERP created a new challenge grant category, demonstration grants for housing design competitions. Tucson was one of 16 nationwide grantees in this category to encourage housing supportive policies and increase public understanding of accessory dwelling units. The objective of this design competition to come up with pre-approved designs that simplify the permitting process is something that AERP has determined is a key way to reduce ADU costs, which a recent AERP report finds can contribute up to between 15 and 20% of total ADU development costs. Finally, I want to note that although AERP supports Tucson's efforts related to casitas, we've also been working for several years with the Elder Alliance of the United Way of Tucson and Southern Arizona and the Tucson Housing Foundation, along with other interested individuals on affordable housing for older adults, on an affordable housing for older adults initiative in support of a variety of actions to provide more affordable, accessible housing, not only in Tucson, but throughout Pima County. And I want to emphasize the word accessible because older adults are often subject to physical limitations. I hope that most, if not all, of the plans submitted for consideration in this competition emphasize accessibility and universal design. So thank you for listening to me. And unless there are questions, I'll turn it back over to Dan to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Hal. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, this is really appreciate you coming and sharing the mission of AERP and kind of the reason why we're here, kind of building this ADU model plan library.
You're welcome.
So with that, we wanted to kind of just pause here and see if anybody has any potential questions related to ADUs, casitas in general, current regulations, AARP. I did want to point out that we will discuss design guidelines next and the design competition, but wanted to kind of pause and see if anybody had any questions. Feel free to, you can either place them in the question and answer that's in the Zoom link, or feel free to raise your hand if you want to ask as well. And I did want to mention as well, sorry, one more thing kind of related to that, that all of these questions that we will be receiving from you today, we plan to put into a frequently asked questions. We'll be posting that on our website as well. So anybody can go and get that information and learn about the process and what we're doing. Okay. First question that it looks like we have, is there a national effort to make an ADU library? I am not aware of a national effort necessarily to do an ADU library, but I know that this has been a trend that we're seeing all over the country. And there are other communities that have done ADU model plan libraries. Examples of those are Los Angeles, Seattle, Raleigh had just put one into place, I believe, back in January with their fast track, their ADU fast track plan. So we've been in touch with several of those communities, kind of learning from them as far as how to go about and do this. Does this require owner occupancy from Joan White? And how to prevent speculation from outside investors. So it does not require owner occupancy. This was something that came up, and it was a significant amount of discussion that we had while we were creating these regulations. The owner occupancy basically creates a lot of kind of issues related to one, enforcement. It's very challenging to enforce, but it also creates a lot of issues when there's transfers of property or selling a property, by having those requirements on there. Ultimately creating barriers and leading to fewer and fewer people creating the developing casitas. One other thing that we have seen is that we went and did quite a bit of research while we were developing this, and so in Seattle, they originally had an owner occupancy requirement. They went through, removed that a while ago, and then they ended up actually getting sued to rescind their regulations. What ended up happening was they did a huge environmental impact study related to that, which came out that says that there was a very little impact related to speculations on accessory dwelling units when they removed that owner occupancy requirement. So it was something that we did have that conversation, and there was that concern. But ultimately, when mayor and council did adopt this, I think the benefits of not having one versus having one were greater related to that. And then Susan Mulholland, are you talking about affordability? Has the ADUs have a cost per square foot cap? Yeah, so we did not have a cost per square foot cap for this, just related to the fact that material costs and everything related to that are so variable. It's very challenging. It would be very challenging to put a cap on that currently. I will say that, and Jessica will go over this in a second, it is a part of not only our categories that we're looking for, but also the criteria that we're reviewing for, as far as ways to lower costs through innovative measures and things of that sort. So it is something that is built into the scoring criteria when we go and review some of these plans. Alex says, do we need to present this project in a current property, or this will be just conceptual in the floor plans? It will likely be, and you have some flexibility in how you can present it. You could show an actual image, a rendering of it on an existing property as an example. But the goal here really is that wide applicability. So it would be more of a general plan that could be placed on multiple different lots or throughout the city. Joan says, which fees are being proposed for reduction? Impact fees, ? And permitting fees, ? So impact fees are mandated by the state, and there's a huge process related to those for this. Actually, if you look back, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when we did this, we actually created a gradation in our impact fees for residential to where we reduced it for smaller units in anticipation. There's still impact fees that are there, and it's something that in the next year we are going to have to go back and revise our impact fees, and we'll likely address it during that. But as far as fees being proposed for reduction, so there's 2 portions to this, and again, Jessica will talk about this in a second. First one is just the plans for the people who are entering into this competition. If you're one of the 10 chosen designs, we will waive the fees to permit and approve the model plans that will go into the library. Those will be basically, those construction documents will be reviewed and approved for that. So that's what we're proposing to be waived. Additionally, there's benefits when utilizing one of those model plans as a homeowner. So if you're a homeowner who wants to use one of the model plans from the 10 in the library, one of the 10 in the library, the permitting fees are reduced significantly. So the site review fee would be $55 instead of like $900 or $1,000, as well as the time to do so, where the time to do so would be reduced, down to like a week or so versus several weeks. So there's benefits on both ends related to that. Excellent. Cool. Any other questions related to this? If not, I'll kick it over to Jessica, and she's going to talk a little bit about the categories, design criteria related to the competition. Great. I'm gonna go forward. Jessica, you want to?
Hi, yeah. So I'm going to go over the competition details, and we'll spend a little bit of time reviewing the details about how the designs will be categorized and evaluated for the competition. We'll also talk through the submission details, and all this information is on the Casitas in Tucson website that I'm going to drop in the chat right now, that I think most of you have probably already seen from the information that we sent out. And again, as Dan said, this information session is being recorded, and we'll upload it to the site as well for your reference for future. Also, as with Dan, right, do not hesitate to drop questions into the chat or use the question function as you think of them, and then we'll go over those questions after this portion as well. And then again, we'll have another question and answer specifically for the submission guidelines. So first, we're going to go ahead and do our design overview. So up to 10 designs will be selected to be awarded $1,000 and may have their fees for review and approval of the residential model plan waived based on construction documents. So any one designer or firm can submit up to 3 designs. So as Dan was saying about, all the different types of fees and whatnot, so these are not the site specific, these are just for the model plans themselves. Pre-approved model plan casitas, they may be displayed on our online gallery on the website that I dropped in there, Casitas in Tucson. We're looking for submissions by 11:59 p.m. Monday, September 18th of this year. Submitted plans will be evaluated by a committee of non-city staff that will use the design guidelines that we'll review in just a moment. And so you'll have, upfront everything that they're going to be evaluating on. And then also there'll be a public online survey that will be held in October, from October 1st to the 22nd. And that score will also factor into the determination of the winners. So some benefits, right? Why might you want to participate in this competition? Well, first, you could submit up to 3 designs, and those designs may be awarded $1,000 each. Second, those designs may have the fees for review and approval of the model plan waived based on their full construction plans. Third, your designs may be featured on our Casitas in Tucson website and our model plan library. And this is a place where residents can view different designs and connect with you, the designers, to develop the Casitas on their property. And fourth, very important, you get to have the benefit of helping to increase housing availability in a way that really preserves our unique neighborhood and historic aesthetics. So our casita categories. So casitas can have a wide range of households meet their needs. So an ideal library of pre-approved plans will serve a variety of living arrangements and household sizes, including individuals, multi-generational households, people living with disabilities, caregiver housing, older adults seeking to downsize or age in place, and also families saving money to buy a home in the future. So our online library, will be broken up into categories to really help people find the designs that will best meet their needs. And an aim of this competition is to get designs that represent this varied needs. So when you complete your submission form, you'll be asked to select which category or categories your design fits best. Your design may fit multiple categories, so it will be a check all that apply option on the submission form. So the first category is universal design or accessible casitas. There are many elements and ways that can make a casita accessible. Submissions in this category are typically going to be single-storied and designed with accessibility in mind to meet the needs of our many residents by implementing universal design features. The second is low-cost innovative casitas. These are designed to be developed at low cost, and there's, again, multiple ways that you can achieve this. It could be that some of the work could be done by the homeowners themselves. It could include some prefabricated elements, but also please be advised that prefabricated ADUs are reviewed and approved by the Arizona Department of Housing and not by the City of Tucson Building Safety Division. ADUs that have been approved by the state are welcome to this process and can be included in our online library. The next category is family friendly. Larger households and families with children may need multiple bedrooms to meet their needs. So designs that fit into this category will have at least 2 bedrooms, and large lot sizes with ample yard space may be able to accommodate these larger casitas. Remember that a casita can be 10% of a lot size up to 1,000 square feet. The final category is green net zero casitas. These incorporate elements such as sustainable materials, passive climate control, reduced waste, on-site energy generation, storage, or rainwater harvesting systems. These energy efficiencies can also result in cost savings in terms of utility bills. So again, we really hope that we have a variety of different styles to offer our residents in our library. So thank you for that. And then next, we're going to talk about the guidelines. So a selection committee will review each of the designs using the guidelines, and we're going to go over each one individually in just a moment. So while every submission may not maximize each element, design should thoughtfully balance the guidelines with an overall goal of increasing access to and production of casitas in Tucson. These are purely suggestions, and we hope that you will find innovative and new ways to apply these design guidelines. So please do not be limited by them. Each design submission will include a design narrative of up to 500 words in which you're going to describe how you're addressing these design guidelines. The first one is accessibility. An important aspect of our AARP design competition is ensuring that we provide a variety of casitas in our library that can support people of all ages and needs. Design should include elements of universal design, and there are a variety of resources to help you design with this increased accessibility. The Better Living Design Institute focuses on designs that can meet the needs of everyone at any stage. And they have some really helpful videos that can provide some inspiration for you. I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now to their YouTube channel, in which they have some really great suggestions. And again, we have some examples here listed, right, that you could use things such as ramped entryways, open floor plans, interior pocket doors, and also think about variable kitchen counter heights, right? Whether it be somebody who's taller, who does not want to hunch over, or who's using, oh, it's a bad link. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much. I will make sure that I get that. It is already listed on our reference page, but I will also make sure that that one is working too. So I apologize about that. Yeah, and the next slide, we're going to have some real specifics around ways in which you can do some accessibility. So again, this might be a little small. I'm going to try this link too. We'll see if this one works. If not, again, we'll make sure that we get this stuff sent out to you. So let me put that in there. Let's see if that works. So again, using some of the Better Living Design Institute's materials, where they have really created nice guidelines to ensure that a whole house can be accessible to as many people as possible. So again, not every design needs to meet every single one of these accessibility guidelines. These are just things that you may want to consider to incorporate in as you create your casita designs, because we want to make sure that your casita is going to be functional for a wide range of uses over a long period of time. For example, I have a casita, love it, and it's where my grandmother-in-law lived when my husband was a kid. And then he lived in it, though, when he was in law school, and he rented out the main house on the property. Currently, we rent it out, but whenever anything needs to be repaired or anything needs to get redone, we always do so with our own aging in mind. We know that eventually one of our mothers will want to live with us. And then also, as we get older, we're going to need it for either a caregiver or for ourselves in the future. Our next guideline is being innovative in terms of construction and design. Another important purpose of our ADU model plan competition is to increase the affordability of building a casita. Therefore, a design guideline focuses on innovative construction and or design elements to support affordability. This could be achieved, as we said earlier, around utilizing innovative and cost-effective building materials, having some sort of DIY elements, being able to construct quickly, thus minimizing labor costs, and using readily available materials. Again, these are only examples, and this could be achieved in so many different ways, and we really do encourage true innovative thinking and design. Our next guideline is the aesthetics and contextual integration. A program goal is to offer pre-approved plans that are broadly feasible and appealing on many residential lots throughout Tucson. Multiple lot, right? These could be, sorry, when we think about designing for multiple lots, think about things like a lot that has alley access, ones that don't, corner lots, mid-block lots, all different kinds of things. Tucson has a great variety of neighborhoods and styles, and casitas should fit into the existing atmospheres. So we're hoping to have a library of designs that represent this variety. Also, to make sure that you're designing with privacy in mind. Your casita may take on many lives, as I had already expressed. And so thinking about that privacy, both between the street as well as to the main house on the property. These are just a couple different examples around thinking about how you could structure your casita. And again, thinking about the different types of lots. So we have one lot here that has an alley, and so the casita entrance and access may be through that alley. We also have a casita there that wants to still have that accessibility to the main house, because perhaps you are building it right now with an aging parent in mind. And so it has that sidewalk and accessibility from the casita to the main house, but it still has that distance and also that entryway that does not face the main house. So it ensures that level of privacy. You also want to think about like where the windows are and things like that as well to really enhance that privacy aspect. Another goal of ours, and so that's the design guideline, is thinking about sustainability. So we want to think about designs that incorporate green building features that are related to energy and water. So it could be achieved by incorporating passive heating or cooling, utilizing sustainable building materials, designing to include stormwater management. But again, not enough emphasis can be placed that these are really just examples, and we want to encourage things that we haven't even thought of. And last, a public survey. Part of the competition is engaging the public in both determining the winner of designs, but also increasing awareness of ADUs/casitas in Tucson. So therefore, we have a public survey element in our competition. All qualifying designs will be entered into an online survey for community members to review and vote on. Public voting will be held from Sunday, October 1st to Sunday, October 22nd. And these public survey results will contribute to the final scores. A link will be sent out on all of our social media, as well as to all the participants so that you can share it as well. And that is kind of the overview of all of our guidelines and the way in which the casitas will be scored. And then Dan will go over the rest of the elements of this competition. But Dan's muted.
I think I got it. Okay, great. Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, so one thing that we will be doing is doing a kind of initial feasibility check on our semi-finalist design. So once they come in and we start to kind of move forward with that, we will make sure that there are certain elements that make sure that there is the design, that they can be built and that they are feasible designs. Some of the things we'll be looking at are either related to zoning, but also related to building. Some of the examples of that would be like a building height. If you have a building height of, greater than what is currently allowed by any of our residential zones, 25 feet or whatever, we would be looking at that. Potentially casita size, if the casita size is over 1,000 square feet, but also some building elements to make sure that that it is buildable and it does meet codes, door widths, things of that sort. So we will be doing that kind of as we move forward to make sure that there is that it is a feasible design and is something that can be taken from the schematic design, which is what applicants will be submitting into kind of full construction documents for those approved model plans. Hold on. Just wanted to provide kind of some resources and things that we will be doing as we move forward. The in-person design feedback session we are looking to host related to this and help with people as they are moving forward with their design. We are looking to host that on Thursday, September 7th from 4 to 6. This will be an in-person event at the Sentinel building, which is our housing and community development building at 320 North Commerce Loop, just on the kind of west side of Interstate 10, kind of near downtown. We'll be doing kind of a drop-in open house style, along with several of our community partners, such as American Institute of Architects and other local organizations. And we'll have their PDSD staff, along with architects and designers, to provide feedback on your designs as you move forward and work towards their completion. We will have snacks, so if you want to come by and have just for the food, that's fine. We'll have food for everyone, and there is free parking there, so it's pretty easy to get in and out for that. In addition to that, we do have our webpage and all the other resources. So we'll be posting the video from this meeting. We will have an active list of frequently asked questions. So everything that we've received here through our chat and through our questions and answers, we'll be including those, as well as any questions that you may have emailed to us or have asked for us. We will take those, put those online so anybody can access those questions. With that, wanted to kind of just pause and see if there are any questions related to the categories, the design guidelines, our public survey, or some of those resources, as well as the info session that we're looking at to host coming up soon. So feel free to either raise your hand and ask a question, or pop it into the question and answer chat. First question was, can a multifamily senior building add ADUs on the property? So the ADU is for 1 and 2 families. So if you had a duplex, you could potentially add an ADU to that property, or a single family home. It is not intended for to be added to a multifamily property for that. And then Joe, what is the process for getting a set of plans pre-approved for use throughout the city outside of this competition? And will there be opportunities to get designs into the Casita model plan library in the future if we weren't able to get them into the competition deadline? So yeah, so we have currently have a process for what are called residential model plans. This is what you see a lot of our large home developers for subdivisions have. They go through, they get these residential model plans approved, and then they use those templates essentially for their lots on their subdivision. So as it is now, you would have to apply for that residential model plan, and then you would be able to use that as a template for future projects, so it would be pre-approved. So we already have the process that is there for you. You could potentially do so outside of this competition. We're just utilizing that process for the competition. And I think the intention is to start off with these 10, feature these 10, but build on top of that model plan library. So there will be that opportunity in the future to add to the model plan library as we move forward. Heidi says, what type of plans do you want? Elevations, floor plan, or construction documents? So ultimately, I'm going to go over this in just a second. We have a list of the criteria, and it's on our website. And it does include most of that, not necessarily the construction documents, but I'll go over that in just a second for you. And then John as well, what is the format for drawing submissions, PDF hard copies, what size of paper? foam core boards. It will be a submission for electronic documents in a single PDF, but I will as well go over what some of those requirements are here in a second. Alex says, we can assemble a casita from 1 to 3 business days, but in one of our models, we use a crane to for offload the material. Will this be a restriction or not? I believe that's related to more of the constructability of it. So it would be probably part of your narrative, explaining kind of how it's constructed and why that would be either a benefit or not. But it wouldn't keep you from being able to submit that design to our competition. And ES says, I'm sorry if I missed this already. I arrived late. Do the plans need to be permitted and pass plan check, or plans that are ready to go through such process? So I'll talk a little bit about that. Essentially, they're schematic designs. They don't need to be permitted or pass plan check for that when you submit them. So basically what you'll end up doing is you'll submit your schematic design and kind of with the, kind of go through the checklist that we will have for you for what you need to submit. And then if you're chosen as one of the 10 for this, we will work with you to bring you through and get the residential model plan constructed and approved as it comes through, or drafted and approved for that. That's when the construction documents really come about. Okay, any other questions related to this? Great, I'll move on. And how to submit. So I talked a little bit about this with some of the questions. So we do have a Casitas in Tucson website that will have our submission form related to it, where you can go on there, fill out the form, attach your documents for that. So what a complete submission will have, and there's a little checklist that's on there as well to kind of make sure that you're kind of putting everything on there, will be a completed application form, which is the submission form. And on there, you'll be able to choose kind of your casita categories and categories related to it. You'll have a project description that'll include kind of unit size, just kind of a general kind of overview of it. And then a design narrative as well that describes kind of how the solution satisfies the design guidelines that we have and what we're going to be reviewing for, and then highlighting kind of those key features of your casita. So there'll be a little more in-depth related to it, a little less related to the actual kind of project and size and dimensional standards and things of that sort. We are looking for a design floor plan at 1/4 inch scale, with dimensions, room names, and furniture layouts, kind of so you get an understanding of how that the layout is. Building sections that are 1/4 scale, showing wall and roof assemblies, building elevations related to it. Some 3D views and some renderings, kind of giving an understanding of really its kind of overall constructed kind of final product. Description of major construction materials and mechanical systems related to that, and how it kind of fits into the design that you have. And then really any other visuals depicting the project, such as floor plan variations or sample site plans or site plan variations. Those are optional, but it does give you the ability to add in some additional kind of figures that could help to depict what you are proposing. And again, this is the schematic design that you would be submitting for this. It's not the full construction documents for that. That is something that we would be working with you if you were one of the 10 chosen. And then ultimately there's a signed memorandum of agreement. This is being finalized right now with our city attorney's office, but will be up on our website and on the submission form, hopefully by the end of today for that. And all of this can be found at our Casitas in Tucson website for that information. Talk a little bit about timeline, kind of for this moving forward. Submission window opens today. By the end of the day, we'll have that link up there for you, be able to do that. On Thursday, September 7th, we are looking to have that in-person feedback session, the design session, at the Sentinel building at Housing and Community Development. There'll be 4 to 6 kind of drop-in open house related to that. And then about a week and a half later is the submission deadline on Monday, September 18th at midnight. So you'll have the full day to finish that up. And then Sunday, October 1st, we will take those submissions, we'll post them online, and they'll have the online survey. So public will be able to go take a look at all those designs, and then they'll be able to vote on the ones that they like. That'll close on October 22nd. During October, we plan to have a panel that will review these as well. Once that's done, so we'll have the internal review, we'll have the public survey, all that will go into final kind of scoring criteria and everything of that sort. And then we look to have the winners announced by early November 2023 for that, which is very exciting. And we're excited to kind of see all of your ideas and your submissions that you may have related to this. So just to kind of stop there, wanted to, with the wrap up here. So we're really excited to see the creativity in our community in designing these, and some of your innovative ideas that really come out of this as far as how to do this and how to address the needs of the housing needs of the city of Tucson. We do want to let you know, yes, the Tucson website will be updated with a recording of this session and any of the answers to the questions that you have submitted to us. But at that, really, if you have any additional questions related to the submissions, the timeline, anything kind of beyond that as well, we're happy to answer any of those for you. But we really appreciate your time and spending that with us here on this Thursday morning. And yes, my contact is there as well. If anybody has any questions or any comments or anything of that sort, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, anybody have any additional questions or comments?
I have a question.
Of course.
This is a Wilda with a property vision. Interested in building some of these. I know that we'll get pushback from some of the neighbors in some of the neighborhoods. Is there any assistance for homeowners who want to build a casita and are getting a lot of pressure from like the HOA or the neighborhood association?
Ultimately, so it is permitted. We have already kind of gone through and done the zoning changes, and it is permitted by right. So it should be already allowed within your property, unless there are some other kind of CC&Rs or private agreements related to your HOA that might restrict them. So it is a permitted use in pretty much all zones and with a residential use in the city of Tucson. So I think that the policy from mayor and council supports you to be able to utilize this option on your property in the city of Tucson.
Thank you.
Of course. Heidi says it would be helpful to have some site plans. Heidi, do you mind elaborating a little bit? Does that mean just kind of some sample site plans or some examples that we might be able to provide to you?
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe one in a corner lot, one mid-block, maybe something that's larger, something that's smaller. It might help, especially if you're looking at all the designs, to have sort of a something to start with, a foundation kind of, so that you can see them in that place, you know, all the same, maybe just as a suggestion. And then everybody would know what the setbacks are, that kind of thing. Possibly.
Great, yeah. Great. Yeah, no, thanks, Heidi. I appreciate it. And maybe even some kind of examples that we can put on our website that kind of show different situations would be helpful for people. Appreciate it. Axel Golden says, would CDs, construction documents, be developed with the client? So basically what we would do is we're going to waive that that fee for you. And then we would be able to kind of provide comments to you to help you through that process as far as to get those approved. So you would submit your construction documents, we would review those and provide kind of, you know, feedback to you in order to bring them so they can be approved. And then Joan says, if a design is submitted, not awarded in the model catalog with potential improvements beyond the deadline competition, is there any possible incentive for potential owners? I'm trying to, so.
I'm here if you don't mind. The question
go right ahead.
I have is that, you know, we've been building, or people have been designing and doing these things before this competition, and they will continue to do this after the competition. And having a restricted 10 possible models you can select from that's going to get a little bit of support financially, of course, this is a big piece of this, is how can we make these affordable? What is the incentive for any regular individual that may not fit into these model categories? Or these models that you're going to have, you know, on site, on the website?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is just one way that we're looking at trying to make these more affordable. So if you look back at what I was talking about a little bit about working on trying to remove the requirement for separate utilities, as well as looking at some of the sustainability criteria, we are looking at other ways to try to reduce costs beyond just the model plan library. But we're hoping that this will be one option for people to help with potential owners for these. If the models don't necessarily meet their needs, our hope is that we'll hopefully have a larger catalog in the future as we continue on, but also that we're reducing barriers in other ways in our code as well.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Great. Any additional questions or comments related to this? Okay, looks like Alex has a question. Speaking about the windows, we have some models that we can supply with large windows that can be affordable. Can we add this to the design or just the casitas with the concept that you are using right now in Tucson? No, please. I mean, all of this should be a part of the design. That's what makes it, you know, part of your narrative, part of kind of what makes your design unique would be items like that. Like if you have a proposal that utilizes a low-cost method to provide large windows that have all kinds of great light and things of that sort, that's exactly what we're looking for. Great. All right. Anything else? Great. Well, there are no other comments or questions. I think we'll wrap this up. Again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We're really excited to kind of get this moving forward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My info's there. Be looking at our website. We'll be continuously kind of updating that as we get more and more questions from people, as we get more information. We'll be posting the video from this as well on there. But we appreciate it and hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye all.